ViolarulesReacts here, and welcome to another blind commentary. I'm continuing my blind reaction to The Box by Sparrow9642. I'm really enjoying the story so far. It'll be interesting to see how it ends, because the main character has done a lot of damage to himself. He's broken his right hand, and he's, bitten into his left arm, I think, at this point. As well as, just in general going insane. Actually, I think he may have already gone insane. It's only day 3, and he has day 3 and day 4 to get through. So let's see if he can do it. Probably not, but maybe he'll surprise me. And like I said before, you can watch the video too. Do it on full screen, watch it in the dark for full immersion if you want to do that, but I'm not going to. So let's continue. And we have 2 introductions to get through, this one and Sparrow's normal intro. I know that a lot of people don't like Grimdark because it's like, oh, you're taking these colorful and cute characters and putting them into a dark scenario, but I like it though. It's different.
I spent a full
Here's a
2
tune that I've
minutes
heard in a
drinking
lot
the
of
blood
Sparrow's
from my arm before I finally stopped.
videos.
My arm throbbed with burning inflammation, but at this point, I was unfazed by any sort of pain. 2 days within this relentless hell had changed me into something else, and I could barely grip any bit of sanity that may have remained within the darkest depths of my now broken mind. Paranoia had taken over every bit of whatever remained within those depths, and in every second that passed, I felt like I was being stuck within the enclosure by not just Fluttershy anymore, but something else. Something more powerful and deadly. I didn't bother wiping away the thick liquid that stained my entire mouth, seeing I could care less about my appearance anymore. I was in darkness, with only the hissing oxygen filter to keep my ears company. My mind seemed to be wandering in multiple directions at a rapid pace, as I returned to wandering inside the box, feeling as if I was slowly going insane. I held my head with my hands, angrily wandering throughout the enclosure with my blood-stained teeth gritted. I was angry, sad, but mostly lost. Here I was, an ungrateful asshole, wandering in what seemed like an endless darkness. If anything, I deserved every bit of this torture I was receiving from who or whatever had put me here in the first place. That's all I thought about as I continued to storm angrily throughout the box, intentionally hitting the glass walls as an additional punishment to what had gotten me stuck here in the first place. Arrogance, stupidity, betrayal, and just being a full-out piece of shit to the one I cared for. She hated me now, even though I saw her die before my eyes. She was here, haunting me, torturing me, pushing me to my limits until I would snap out of it all. The speed of my pacing increased with each hit,
By the way, I'm not
sometimes
sure
falling
how
flat on my ass, then getting back up.
Part 4 will
my anger increased with every collision to the plexiglass walls of the box, eventually resulting in my legs speeding up to a rapid pace. Every hit was harder, but I didn't fucking care anymore. I had nothing to fight for except myself. My own pathetic fucking self. The asshole who would cause the death of a beautiful, innocent woman over betrayal, just to save his own fucking ass. I collided into the glass wall again, only this time I didn't get back up and run. This time, I remained still, staring at my faint reflection. The reflection had begun to warp into something else as I stood still, feeling a small stream of blood caress down my nose, dripping to the floor of the box.
Unless I misunderstood, there's a slight error with this image. Wasn't the traitor carved into the left arm?
Some sort of shadow figure that resembled me. I was not running anymore, seeing that's only what this unknown shadow figure wanted. It was time to face what I had been running from ever since I had arrived here. Only in a state of insanity could I face what was hidden from me. The figure had blood-red eyes and a maw of a blind light and sharp teeth. The creature looked at me with an expression that most would fear, but at this point, I had realized that all along,
I do like this art.
I had been running from myself. I couldn't fear myself, nor could I run from myself any longer. This was my ultimate test, and I didn't care if I was dreaming or hallucinating at this point. In this darkness, I couldn't assure anything at all, because the things I had been seeing were my fears. Although they felt real and looked real,
fingernails are black.
all along they were just the result of my mind's own creation. Now that I had fallen to insanity, I could see things for what they really were. It was like I had managed to expand the limits of my mind, and now could see things in a whole different light. It was mesmerizing, yet terrifying at the same time. I'm not running from you anymore. I won't fear myself. I continued to stare at the manifestation of my own self as it expressed a smile of pure terror. But fear did not even faze me anymore. I had finally found what had been hiding in plain sight, taunting me in my slow fall to pure insanity. You've been there since the day I beat that kid to the point of where he died, and I left him in the gutters. I should have called the police and taken the fall for my crime, but instead I ran and left him for dead, hoping the rats would decompose the body of that poor innocent kid. I paused, feeling my anger start to rise. It's one of my biggest regrets in my life, next to not attending my mother and father's funeral. I should have been there. I should have fucking been there! But instead, I was too focused on getting to third base. I am easily one of the most ungrateful assholes to ever exist in this world. And now I understand why I've been seeing these things that I have been seeing in this box. My anger was at its peak as I wiped away the tears from my eyes, ready to dissipate the monster before me in the glass reflection. They are manifestations of my fears and regrets, including Cheryl, Fluttershy, the pony I fear the most for what I experienced during the events of the survey. The monstrous creature with the fish is Cheryl. Those are my regrets for what I did to her. I should have made the right decision, but instead I made Cheryl take the fall. It's all obvious now, and now that I've figured out why I've been seeing and hearing these things, I can see that there's no possible way for me to make it out of this as a victor. Even if I make it one more day. What do I have left to go back to in my life? What is left for me? Absolutely nothing, except to keep living with those fears and regrets.
I actually feel bad for the protagonist.
I'll continue on. Well, Cheryl should have been the one to make it, and not my ungrateful ass. There's nothing left for me in life. Therefore, what am I fighting for? You can continue to haunt me, torture me, and taunt me all you want, but in the end, you'll always be there, even in death. There's no escape, and that's just the harsh truth. I paused, feeling the tears roll down my cheeks. Nothing was stopping me anymore. This was the climax of whatever reason I had been spared and brought into this relentless hell. I had come to realization that the environment I was in really was just a glass box, and that the things I had seen, felt, and heard were all smoke and mirrors. Fear had created these things, and now it was time to destroy them. I created you, and everything I have seen, felt, or heard in this hell. And now that I see the truth of what will happen no matter the outcome of this demented test, I see there's no reason to continue this any further. You lose! With no further hesitation, I violently slammed my good fist down on the oxygen filter at a rapid pace, not holding back any more force. The hissing of the oxygen had begun to dissipate very quickly, as I begun to let out a laughter of neither happiness or sadness, only of pure insanity. as I continued to violently pound against the oxygen filter. I did not care anymore.
But they let you forfeit the test.
I'm going down. I'm going down my way, you motherfuckers. After making sure the oxygen filter was completely unable to produce any oxygen any further, I turned back to the glass, only to see the reflection of myself now gone. I pounded against the glass, taunting at whatever may be behind the glass. Come and get me! I'm all yours now! I'm all yours! I'm all yours! I watched as the bloody hoof from before once again caressed the outside of the glass. I just continued to laugh maniacally as I continued to taunt and pound against the glass, hearing an alarm ring from outside of the box. In the midst of the pure madness and the alarm, I could hear the sound of Fluttershy's voice faintly within the darkness.
This isn't the way.
The voice of Fluttershy spoke. Shut the fuck up, you bitch! The voice quickly dissipated as I continued to laugh over the sound of the alarm and proceeded to collide into the floor. I could feel the lack of oxygen starting to take effect as I continued to laugh and let out coughs from that lack of oxygen. In my final moments in the box, all I saw was the manifestations of what I once feared standing side by side, along with the normal Cheryl. Cheryl stared at me with tears in her eyes, as my vision faded to nothing but a blur of darkness in a faint light. I had no regrets in my choice. I had lost my sanity, my fears, and my regrets. All was over.
So, how does this...
My eyes shot open, only to be greeted by a blinding light just above me. I was seated on what seemed like a hospital bed in a long, vacant hallway. And strangely, I wasn't restrained by any straps or anything like that. I proceeded to getting off of the bed and placing my feet on the cold hallway floor. I didn't understand why, once again, I had been spared. Didn't these bastards want me dead? I had no idea where to go, what to do, or why I was here in the first place. I didn't understand, as I carefully proceeded down the hall to wherever I was going next. I wasn't sure yet on the reason why I had been spared, but somewhere among the dark atmosphere of this mysterious place, I had a feeling that I'd find something. I just wasn't sure what. Yet.
I'm guessing this is the part where the doctor comes into play.
Hallways. Endless hallways with countless locked rooms was all I could make of this new hell. It seemed like I was walking in an endless maze of long halls and doors, as I continued onward, unaware of what I was even looking for in this place. There was no sound in the eerie silence of the halls, except for the echoing of my footsteps and my shallow breathing, not wanting to attract any attention, if any existed, beyond the numerous doors I passed. The eerie silence was suddenly interrupted with the sound of an intercom, following an all-too-familiar voice that made my blood boil at the sound of it.
Awake already, I see.
The cold voice made my anger rise, wondering if this was even real or just some demented nightmare. Here I was, wandering down the endless halls, unknowing of where I was even supposed to go from here. What was I searching for in this new place? Was I just being played with, like a chess piece on a game board, or was I just falling even further into insanity? One thing was sure. I was tired of being watched and taunted by who or whatever was behind that intercom. They had put me here, had caused me to break to the point of where I confessed everything, and even pushed me to dying in the box. Yet here I was, alive and well. Why didn't you just let me die? Isn't that what you've wanted from the start?
Foolish human. Did you really believe that you'd escape that easily? You still have yet to learn why you are really here. And only when you realize the truth of why you've been spared once more, will you be set free from this place.
I was surprised, not expecting the voice to respond with an answer like that. What did this unknown person or creature mean by that I still had yet to learn why I was really here? I was here for a reason? If so, then what was that reason? I don't understand! I thought I was here for passing the survey! What the fuck is going on?
Allow me to shed some light on the situation. Walk down the hall, and you'll come to a stop, with only two choices, left or right. Take the right hall, and walk to the end of that hall. You'll come to a double-door entrance to where you'll find your answers.
I wasn't sure whether or not to believe the voice that had stuck me here in the first place. But at the same time, I didn't have any better ideas on where to go in this endless maze of halls. I had a choice. Believe my worst enemy, or continue to wander for eternity throughout this maze with no guidance of any sort of clue of what I was searching for in the first place. How do I know you aren't just leading me into some sort of trap?
Have I lied to you yet? Think about it. I haven't lied to you about one thing. Everything in the box was a hallucination and a safe haven, just like I said on the day of your importation. I even alerted you that you wouldn't survive the 4 days without taking bold measures, drinking your own blood. I have been nothing but a guide to you, my friend, never once an enemy. Another thing that you must remember is that I didn't kill Cheryl, you did, with your desperation and selfishness to escape the survey. You've just blamed me, because you are blinded by your anger and refuse to blame yourself for yet another ungrateful act.
Reality hit me like a ton of bricks. The voice was correct. They had never once lied to me about anything, and had been honest since the day I had arrived here. Had I been blinded so much by my anger that I had begun to blame others than myself? It had become clear to me. My jaw dropped, knowing that my greatest enemy all along had been my greatest ally in this unknown place. I collapsed to my knees, feeling like a total asshole, which I clearly was. I had not changed since the day I arrived here. I was still the same asshole, blinded by my own hate.
I see that you finally caught on to the truth, my friend. All along, you've been blinded by anger and hate. As a result, you've pushed others away and have blamed others for your faults. Do you truly believe that I'm lying to you now?
I was unable to talk as I slowly rose back up to my feet. I remembered the directions given to me by the unknown voice. I understand now. It's time to find out why I'm really here, and the answers behind where I am. With no further word, I proceeded down the hall, just as the voice had instructed, until I came to a dead end and had to choose left or right. Just as the voice had instructed, I took the right hall and quickly made my way to the end of the hall, until, just like the voice said, a pair of double doors were before me. I inhaled a deep breath as I cautiously made my way through the entrance into the room where I'd find my answers. The room was large and open, much like the box, only much more different. It was dark inside, so I browsed the wall, hoping to find some sort of switch. It didn't take long before I found one, and quickly illuminated the room with a large number of lights connected to the rafters high above my head. Once my sight was clear, I was shocked at the contents within the room, causing my jaw to drop once more.
Green screen?
Among the walls was a plethora of monitors, currently switched off, along with 6 stage setups with green screens as the background of each. A camera was positioned in front of each, currently on standby mode, and hooked up to some sort of device that connected to 6 separate laptops, aligned on a single table. Lastly, in the far corner of the room, a number of familiar props I had seen before were stacked. mechanical props of Fluttershy's animals, along with lingerie, ropes, mattresses, and many other props seen in the show My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. It took me a minute to connect the dots, but it wasn't long before I came to realization of what this place really was. It was the room where the survey Skype calls are called and projected from. 6 stages,
Okay.
6 laptops, 6 ponies. Without a doubt, this was it. This was the place where it all took place. The demented survey projection room. I wanted to scream and destroy everything. But I just felt that this was not the only obvious answer that the voice was referring to.
So
Something
does
else
that
was
mean there's
here,
a chance that Cheryl
and I
didn't
had to
actually
find it.
die?
So, this is it. This is where it all happens. The demented Skype calls, the survey, and the murders.
Looks like you are smarter than I thought. However, how do you suppose those who run the survey know the contact of the unfortunate victims? It can't just be by luck or random guesses.
I thought hard about what the voice told me, still unsure of what they meant. It was true. Just how did whoever run the survey get Skype contacts? Could it be some imported code into the survey itself, able to import a Skype contact into a draft whenever the survey link is clicked? Or was it something less
Another story
complicated?
After Welcome to the Family.
I decided
wonder
to
if it
search
will
around for
progress from
anything
Skype to
specific
Discord.
that may
That would
relate
be
to the
interesting,
situation.
Because, well,
I carefully
people I know
navigated
don't
the
use
area,
Skype anymore.
keeping a sharp eye out for anything specific, and didn't find anything until I came to the area of the laptops. In a small drawer below the laptops was what looked like some sort of notebook with a large number of pages. This piqued my interest, so I grabbed one and quickly opened it, only to find what seemed like a well-organized log of Skype contacts. The strange thing about the contacts was a red X next to most of the names, which I quickly figured out was the victims who had been killed already. I fluttered through the pages, not seeing anything different except the massive numbers of Skype contacts with a red X next to those who had already met their fates. I was about to give up until I came to the very last page of the log and found something familiar. My Skype contact. However, the last Skype contact was not mine. It was Cheryl's. No red X was placed next to it. It hit me almost instantly as I dropped the book from the impact. Cheryl was not dead. What? Cheryl isn't dead?
Correct.
But how? I saw her die before my own eyes.
As you've seen, your eyes can deceive you, my friend. Not everything you see is necessarily real.
I don't understand. If Cheryl isn't dead, then where is she?
She's closer than you think. But if you wish to find her again, you'll have to watch the moment you regret the most again. The camera in front of the second stage is paused just before that moment. Watch it again, and you'll be able to find her.
I shuddered at the
So she
statement of
faked
watching
her
Cheryl's
death?
punishment in the survey again. Could I? It was something that I regretted severely. Something I never wished to see again. But the voice had not lied once about anything. And if this was the only way to find Cheryl and save her from this place, I had to put aside one of my greatest fears. To save someone that I cared for dearly. Alright. I'll do it, I stated with my bravest voice as I made my way to the camera and prepared for the worst, pushing the play button on the side of the camera. The footage started out with the sight I had seen over the Skype call, where Fluttershy was staring blankly into the camera, holding a paper in her hooves.
VHS or something.
The questions that she asked me
final question. Did you take this survey by your own choice?
Asked Fluttershy through the webcam. There was a long pause before I answered over the Skype call. The one answer I regretted the most.
No, it wasn't me. It was my stuck-up bitch of a girlfriend. She put me up to this bullshit, so if you're going to punish anybody for anything, choose her, not me. Her!
I lip-synced the entire answer that I gave, feeling tears build up in my eyes. How could I have given such a fucking ungrateful answer? Cheryl was the kindest person you could know. I was far from a stuck-up bitch that I so selfishly called her. I wanted to hit myself so hard that I bled profusely right there. But the worst was yet to come.
Is that really how you feel?
Questioned Fluttershy.
Yes,
I selfishly replied.
As you wish.
Fluttershy replied before the beginning of Cheryl's torture began. She was already tied up in the green screen projection of what I thought was originally Fluttershy's cottage, struggling to get free from the restraints. Next came the torture, as Fluttershy proceeded to violently smacking Cheryl across the face, managing to fracture her teeth and causing her gums to bleed madly. Cheryl cried from the hits, but it only grew worse as Fluttershy resorted to punching her across the face, hard. Cheryl couldn't scream due to the tape across her mouth preventing so, but she continued to cry and struggle from the torture. I wanted to
just
stop
like in
right
the survey, somebody else
but it wasn't over
suffers
yet,
for the survey
as
taker's
Fluttershy
actions.
resorted to her next method of torture. But not to Cheryl this time, but to me. Fluttershy pointed directly at the screen as she ripped the tape from Cheryl's mouth. She was crying and begging for mercy. Fluttershy's response to her pleas was only cruel and made a chill run down my spine.
It's not me who brought this torture upon you, dear. But only the ones you care the most about. I only do what he tells me to do. And he wanted you to be tortured, just so he could get away with lying over the truth.
Fluttershy answered in the most cruel voice that she could muster.
no, Cheryl, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh my.
It's too late to
What a
apologize.
liar you are. First you said you wanted her to be tortured because she's the one who got you into this mess. Looks like you've been caught in a dead lie. But despite your actions now, you already told me what you want. So, I have no choice but to do what you say.
Please, 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 don't do this. Please.
Too late.
With those two cold words, Fluttershy proceeded to killing Cheryl.
Oh, Harry! Do you mind doing the honors? You've been needing a boost in protein lately. And I believe one human is enough to ease your hunger.
The last of Cheryl's screams were silenced as Harry engulfed her, finishing her off. Strangely, I
ate
didn't
her
remember
whole?
much after that.
Or what?
Suddenly, it hit me. I didn't remember anything after that. Had I? The video answered my question as it continued onward.
Oh dear! My victim's become unresponsive.
Fluttershy spoke.
Are you sure?
Spoke another unknown voice from within the room. Fluttershy nodded her head.
Not to worry. His contact has been logged. And as we all know, once the survey has started, it is inescapable until it's complete.
So,
Oh, he hasn't
Now what?
completed the survey yet.
Your job is complete. Until the next victim, that is. As for this one, we'll put him through the box test, where he will continue to take the survey in his mind, and shall remain in a coma until the quest is complete. his girlfriend will be
he
put
was in
into
a
the same
coma
state
the
as
whole
well.
time.
And depending on how he copes in his mind, will decide the fate of them both. Only one will survive the ordeal. Put the subject in room B52 for a period of 4 days. As for the victim himself, his test begins now. Start the mind test protocol and put it on a 4-day time schedule. Now!
Okay, I see.
I was speechless.
That was an
as
interesting
the video
twist.
came to an end. All along, this wasn't even in reality. I was in a coma. In reality. And this whole thing was occurring in my mind. I had passed out, and was still taking the survey, just in my mind. This newfound information was almost too much to take in, but it was obvious now. This
So
was
Cheryl
still a
is in
test,
B52,
and the only way to
I think you
pass
said?
was to save Cheryl from wherever she was hidden in this place. That's when I remembered that the location was given away in the video. She was in room B52, and was alive. But I feared that she would not be for much longer.
Now you understand why you are here and where exactly you are. You were brought here for a reason, and you figured it out. Cheryl is alive, but once the 4th day is complete, both you and Cheryl will die in your comas. Despite all that has happened and what you have learned, even if you manage to save her, only one can survive. It's time for you to choose, my friend. Would you rather live and go on with your life, or are you willing to spare the one you love and save her from a terrible fate caused by you?
So he has a second chance to do the right
was
thing.
very blunt, which meant that this was it. This was my final choice. It was clear what I wanted, and the only way I could escape the images that now plagued my mind. I had to do the right thing, even if it did cost me my life. I deserved it for what I did out of my own choice. I've done ungrateful things, and have no reasons to go back, while Cheryl has a full life ahead of her. I've treated my friends and family as if they were garbage my whole life, and even taking the life of an innocent person. This time, I will not choose wrong. This time, I will do the right thing.
Because what if Cheryl wasn't just
My
the
choice
victim?
was clear,
Maybe she did bad
as I
things
heard the
too.
voice speak again.
Best find her before it's too late. You slept for almost 2 days and have 13 minutes before the test ends.
I didn't say anything, and quickly resorted to rushing out of the room, noticing that the rooms were now labeled with numbers, and knew I had a long way to go, due to the nearest room being labeled D1. I had a long way to go, and hoped that I would make it before I lost Cheryl again. I immediately shook my head of any sort of negative thoughts. No more doubt. I will save her. I will not fail again. With no further hesitation, I quickly scurried down the hall, my target being room B52.
To be continued. Wait, he only has 13 minutes left? Oh, I guess before he woke up in the box, he was unconscious for 2 days straight. So, and he did. Wait, I'm confused about the timeline now, because Cheryl was put in room B52 for 4 days. Obviously, once the 4 days are up, she'll probably die from that. But it said that the protagonist slept for 2 days, and that he only has 13 minutes to save her, but I thought he was on the 3rd day. I'm confused. Because he spent 2 days plus part of day 3 in the box. So unless he wandered through the hospital before being given the instructions to go into the filming room for most of day 3 into day 4, why does he only have 13 minutes left? I'm confused, but yeah, I sort of saw it coming that Cheryl was still alive, like once it was revealed that it was just a stage prop room. But like I said, that doesn't really absolve Cheryl of being just a victim, because in these stories, usually the person that they're trying to save has been given some instruction to kill the protagonist as well. I don't know if that is the case, that's just my hunch, because that's usually how these Grimdark stories go. But we'll find out in the final part, right now, part 4. So will this be a 6-part series so that each pony gets their moment in the spotlight? Because we've had Twilight, we've had Fluttershy, but we haven't had the others yet.
Several minutes passed as I continued to follow the endless number of locked rooms, hoping to find B-52 before my time expired.
What if B-52 was the room
Above
that he
each
woke
room,
up in?
a timer with blood-red numbers counted down my remaining 20 minutes, and I had only managed to make it to the C section of the rooms.
That would have been an interesting twist.
If it took me 10 minutes just to reach the C section of rooms, there was no possible way for me to make it to B-52 and back to the monitoring room in a time limit of only 10 minutes. I stopped to think for a minute of any pieces of the puzzle I might be missing. There has to be another way. There has to be some sort of shortcut embedded within these halls that I'm just not seeing. Question is, which one? I couldn't afford to waste any time, so I quickly overlooked anything I might have missed. Nothing came to me, seeing I had overlooked almost everything. I clenched my fist, knowing time was running out, and here I was, struggling to find the true path to wherever Cheryl was being held. I nearly cried before my guide spoke out to me from behind the hidden speakers.
I see you've caught on to the fact that getting to your destination will require much more than just simply running through the halls of this place. No, it would require having to enter the deepest depths of your mind for answers. Think hard, back to the survey before you passed out.
I don't understand. For some reason, I can't remember anything before I passed out.
It's like I said, you will have to think hard for these answers, before every bit of your memory is destroyed. The more that clock goes down, the more your memories become nothing but a cloud of smoke that used to be a specific memory.
Okay.
The answer still remains, but you have to think hard. What was the name of the Skype contact that called you as Fluttershy?
Hopefully he
My mind
hasn't,
suddenly spiked like a
forgotten
rocket,
that.
remembering a very distant memory. It was question 3 of the survey. I remembered that very clearly, when the blood-red text appeared on my computer screen and asked me very clearly, "Your favorite pony now has questions for you. In an estimated time of about 30 seconds, you'll receive a call via Skype." Of course, I thought it was just a joke, until I instantly received a call from a contact named Shy Pony C15,
C15.
and answered it, only to be greeted
So he
with
needs
my
to go
worst
to room
nightmare.
C15.
C15! I exclaimed in victory, realizing that C15 was the shortcut I was looking for to find Cheryl faster, before the time ran out. I quickly jolted down the hall, carefully watching for C15, and quickly found it with no problems. As I reached out to grab the handle to the door, I took in a deep breath, not sure what to expect. Would I find safety,
or yet another obstacle behind the door.
I think you have time to be contemplating this.
I let out a breath as I twisted the handle and watched the door open to a new area. It was dark and cold in this new area as I took careful steps, stepping into the new area. The door shut behind me, following a hidden light source enlightening the area, revealing an area much like the original, but deteriorating. The flooring of the area was composed of fragile material, slowly deteriorating to nothing but rubble. I was glad that I had taken precautions before proceeding any further, due to a bottomless trench being only inches from where I stood. I felt like I was in one of those video games where the main character had to jump over trenches, seeing it was clear that this area was far from stable, and if I was going to survive, I had to be absolutely careful. With light steps, I stepped onto the closest and largest part of the intact tiles, looking around for any safe path. That was easier said than done, as I caught sight of a door labeled B20. I was close to Cheryl, but getting to her was going to be near impossible. I surveyed the area, carefully overlooking my options, but unfortunately, I didn't have very many options. The only path required jumping from unstable fragments to another. I gulped, looking at the clock above the only visible room. Only 15 minutes were left, so I wasted no time and took my first jump onto a very small fragment of unstable tile.
When he was in the hallway
I
trying
landed
to
with
find
both
the shortcut,
feet
didn't he say he had 10
but quickly
minutes
noticed something was happening. The tile was disintegrating faster than I had jumped on it, which immediately led me to panicking.
Wait, how did he have 15
footing start to
minutes left? He had
decrease from
13
stable
minutes
to
originally.
unstable. With all but a quick glance, I quickly jumped toward the nearest unstable fragment, praying not to slip. Fortunately, I landed with both of my feet planted, starting to feel the piece of tile disintegrate, just like the last one. Before the tile could disintegrate to nothing, I jumped to a much longer and expanded area of stable tile, tripping as I landed on the open area. I quickly stood back up, hoping for the tile not to disintegrate, and fortunately for me, it didn't. I took deep breaths, attempting to regain my composure. I knew this was far from over, and it only became more obvious as I saw that this hall did not contain doors, but lockers. It didn't even take me a second to recognize the lockers as my school's lockers. I looked around trying to find any clue as to why the door had led me here of all places. But once I saw the locker numbers, I quickly figured out what this area was referring to. I know this area all too well, and which locker I'm supposed to open. The kid I murdered in cold blood.
I figured
this is his locker area.
Back to.
This is where my hate came from, where it had begun to blind me and turn me into a ruthless monster. I approached the locker with the number 513 embedded just above its door on a steel plate, and opened it, only to reveal nothing but a replay of the kid's final moments before I killed him.
So we have
I told you to stay away from Cheryl, yet you decide to push your fucking luck too far by doing stupid shit like hitting on her. I warned you, you motherfucker. Now you are going to learn what happens to dumbasses like you who decide to overstep their boundaries against people who overpower them in every way possible.
Wow.
You want to try stupid shit like what you did again? Huh? Do you truly want to piss me off any further than you already have? No, you won't. Not ever again. Because I'm going to make it that way. If only you would have just fucking listened, then this would not be happening. I'll make sure nobody remembers you. Like anybody will. You are a pathetic excuse of a human being and never deserve to be born. Maybe you were a mistake because you can't do shit for anybody.
I'll go home. I'll do what I need to do. Please.
Shut the fuck up, you piece of...
That was when the gunfire erupted, and he fell limp, being shot in the head with a clean hole right through his head.
Oh shit. Shit! I didn't mean to pull the trigger.
You shouldn't have had your finger on it if you didn't want to pull it.
What came next made me want to jump into the bottomless pits of this area, hearing those words once again. I am not going down over someone like you. I'll make sure of that. The memory ended, leaving my fists clenched and tears flowing from my eyes, along with the urge to commit suicide. I never did mean to pull the trigger, but the truth was that I had pulled the trigger out of anger. Remembering this memory made me nearly vomit, but I couldn't waste any time in this place, as I noticed a key had appeared at the bottom of the locker opening. The grip of the key had B-52 embedded in it, which meant that it was time for me to face my final challenge.
Yeah.
Which was saving Cheryl.
You're lucky that you were given extra time to do so.
I grabbed the key and turned away from the locker, only to see that the other lockers were now gone, and only one room remained, B-52. I felt a strange sensation overcome my body as I stepped closer to the room, sticking the key in the key slot of the door handle. I turned the key, hearing a click, and slowly turned the handle, watching as the door opened, revealing what looked like the top of a building. Something was standing just before the edge of the building top, looking out into an endless, dark horizon. I entered the room, taking small steps towards whoever was standing on the edge of the building. Cheryl? I questioned. The unknown person moved at the mentioning of the name, as they continued to stare into the horizon.
Why are you here?
They asked bluntly. I'm here to save you from this place, I replied.
Is that all? Is that really all you are here for?
Well, and to redeem himself, but...
Yes. I now realize who I really am, and don't deserve to move on from here. But you do. I've been blinded by anger and hate for too long, and I'm ready to make up for everything I've done. By doing the right thing. By giving my life up for yours. The unknown individual was silent for a moment, until finally, the eerie silence was broken up by a response I did not expect.
Do you really think that by giving up your life for mine is going to make me forgive you for what you did? For using me as a possible free card? Of getting yourself out of a situation you got yourself into?
Yeah, I got the feeling that she would not forgive him.
I paused, thinking hard about what this unknown person had said, realizing that they were right. No amount of anything could result in forgiveness, because there was no room for forgiveness. Once again, I paused, thinking hard about the statements, wondering if maybe the mask of anger and hate was still there or not.
She's gonna jump, isn't she?
That's when everything became obvious, due to this unknown thing trying to make me double guess myself, almost to the point of where I doubted myself. It had hit me, and now I knew what I had to do. No amount of anything can result in forgiveness for what I did. It's true, I made mistakes that cannot be forgiven, but in the time I've been in this place, I finally figured out the real truth and why I'm here. I'm not here to save anybody, not even myself. I'm here to feel what Cheryl felt when I betrayed her, because she was never killed. That much I know is true. But that doesn't mean that she didn't feel pain. She felt pain both physically and mentally,
both from Fluttershy's tactics and the betrayal from the ones she loved and cared for dearly. In the box, I experienced many things. I experienced fear and torture that matched what Cheryl felt in the moment she was brought into this whole thing. I felt pain that wasn't even there in the darkness, was pushed to where I had to finally enter a state of mind to find answers that were hidden beyond the darkness of the box, and even experienced dreams that made me feel hated, forgotten, and betrayed. Just how Cheryl felt when I betrayed her in the most selfish way I could have ever done. I don't expect forgiveness, mercy, or to be spared of the mistakes that I've made in both reality and in this test that broke me, pushed me to do things I never thought I'd do. I don't deserve forgiveness or mercy from whoever has pushed me to this point of realizing what had been right in front of me the entire time. It just took seeing, feeling, and experiencing the sins that I wanted to just forget as if they had never happened to finally see the real reasons of why I'm here, and just what I have to do to answer for my wrongs. You are not what you say or claim to be. You are the very thing that has plagued me since I arrived in the box. You are the things I saw in the box as hallucinations, when they were real, as my mind made them to be, being real enough to physically harm me and push me to the point of no return. You are the creature that I saw outside of the box, causing me to fear what was both in and outside of the box. You are the reflections of myself that I saw. My fears, regrets, hate, and anger. You are the voice from behind what I thought were speakers that has been guiding me to this point. But now I realize that I've only been fearing myself the entire time. The unknown figure stood quiet for a second,
long speech.
until it suddenly began to change into something different. Something more familiar to my eyes. Once the unknown figure had finished shifting into its new form, it turned toward me with a smile. Before me was a reflection of myself. Well done. You've confronted what you were hiding from the entire time. You've proven that you are more than just a selfish and unforgivable person by confronting the one thing you have hidden from since the day you killed that innocent kid. However, you have yet one more thing to do before you are forgiven, spoke the other me.
What?
I know, I stated, taking steps toward the ledge of the building top, standing next to my other self.
At some point.
I looked beyond the ledge, taking in a deep breath as I prepared for the final task I had to do before my test was complete. Are you ready? I nodded my head, remembering happy memories before I turned into this unforgivable person. I smiled, leaning forward and falling into the endless abyss of my mind. As I fell, I didn't think negative, and only embraced the new person that I had become. I had let go of all my hate and anger that had overcome me for so long, and only now could I truly forgive myself.
Heartbeat monitor, I can hear.
I didn't expect to be forgiven by Cheryl. Not that she ever could, and never would know if she did or did not forgive me for betraying and nearly killing her. Over the silence of the endless fall, I overheard the sound of a heart monitor, flatlined, and watched as the endless abyss closed to nothing but pure darkness. It was over.
I don't think it is, because...
Cheryl McGreen lived through her 4-day coma, but was devastated by the loss of her beloved. Nobody knew what caused the two to fall into comas, and for one to live and one to die right in the same moment. All that followed was nothing but pure tragedy. Cheryl had a hard time moving on from the mysterious death of her beloved, and no answers were given to the cause of the coma, because there were no answers.
So they disappeared?
Cheryl wanted answers, but never found any until 2 years after the mysterious death of her boyfriend. Cheryl had come home from her graduation from high school, and like most young adults, proceeded to getting on Skype to talk with friends. In her recent messages was a message from her boyfriend's Skype account. But her boyfriend's Skype account
had been deleted not long after his death. Yet, here was the legit account with a message of only 2 words that immediately made Cheryl question many things, along with anybody else who saw the message. I'm sorry.
Nice. So, kind of makes me question if Cheryl was ever a victim at all. Maybe it was all just in the protagonist's head, the torture and everything else. Fluttershy was Tasha. Good job. Cheryl was Vanilla Swirl. Okay, I thought the voice sounded familiar. Nice. Good job. Yeah, and there's Thomas as the survey administrator. Administration's what it said. Art was by Hocus Pocus. Okay. Yeah, everything was very well done. Hope you enjoyed this story. The final story will be out on Halloween. Thank you for your support and for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed this story. Like I said, this was the first one before Welcome to the Family. So if you want to watch them in order, it's The Box, Welcome to the Family, and another one is in the works at the moment, which I will react to once that one is finished. I think Sparrow's in the middle of writing it, so he hasn't recorded anything for it yet. But I'm very excited and looking forward to it. But yeah, I really liked this reading. It was really well done. The music was really nice. I really loved the artwork. And yeah, I'll put a link to Sparrow's channel in the description below. I also did it for the previous one too, but I forgot to say that. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like. Also be sure to like my Facebook page and follow me on Twitter, as well as support my Patreon. All 3 links will be in the description below. And subscribe for more. And if you are subscribed or a new subscriber right now, be sure to hit that bell icon to get notified when I upload videos. This is ViolarulesReacts, signing off. Talk to you later.